What you need in the building, and we're gonna talk some boxing. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget you can subscribe, share, donate, comment. The comments can be done in the chat area. This is a live stream. Let's talk about the fights over the weekend, man. We had some good fights over this weekend. Surprise, surprise. The biggest shocker is the fact that Alexander Povetkin, he knocked out cold Dillian Whyte. And Dillian Whyte was winning that fight, like literally. He was about to get the old guy out of there. It was the fifth round when Povetkin caught him with a beautiful uppercut. He feinted, we're going to go hook to the body, and came right up the middle and knocked Dillian Whyte, the spark, out. Now, I predicted that Dillian Whyte would win it because he's the younger guy. And for the most part, that's what was happening until he got knocked out by a beautiful left uppercut, courtesy of Alexander Povetkin, who's always dangerous, as we know. Dillian Whyte dropped Povetkin the round before, I believe it was twice. And it looked like he was closing in for the kill, and then he got killed. So these things do happen. It was a shock. It was dramatical. I did not predict that. I didn't expect that. I said if Dillian Whyte couldn't get past Povetkin, he's not really good. He's not really a good fighter, but really he is a good fighter. I had to change my words so much because he's actually winning the fight. He was actually doing what he was supposed to do in this fight, but he got caught. His defense was open, and he got caught with the uppercut. Tricky, tricky, tricky by Povetkin. I gotta give him that. Um, there's a lot of response in social media, and a lot of people are clowning Dillian Whyte at this time, but he does have an immediate rematch clause, so that he should be able to execute that, get a rematch with Povetkin, and hopefully prevail. But anything can happen in boxing, right? This is the sport of boxing. Anything can happen in boxing. So that's what went on with that fight. Delphine Persoon, my goodness, versus Katie Taylor. I have not gotten to see the whole entire fight. I saw highlights. And Delphine Persoon is definitely the Juan Manuel Marquez of the Manny Pacquiao. He is the Eric Morales of the Antonio Barrera. She is Katie Taylor's nemesis. Katie Taylor just can't find a way to separate herself from Delphine Persoon. Again, they gave her the decision because she's the A side. You could easily say Delphine Persoon won it. It's up to you how you looked at the fight. Persoon again coming on strong. Katie Taylor did have some, from what I saw from the highlights. The highlights don't really tell the true story, but from the highlights, I saw Katie Taylor having some choice punches on Delphine Persoon. I think she performed a little bit better than she did the first time. She was looking like Delphine Persoon looked like she was going to knock her ass out in the final round. Didn't seem that way in these highlights, but of course I haven't seen the entire fight. Then we also had over the weekend two other really good boxers. I don't remember the opponents of them. I just remember their names. Sean Porter prevailed in his fight against his opponent and over the weekend on Fox, and that was last night. And it was a really good performance, by the way. I mean, he was very quality. You know, he chose his punches, didn't get hit as much. And the other guy really got beat up, but he did it in a very much more surgical, clean, efficient way. So Sean Porter is doing a lot better. He's improving as a boxer. His boxing is getting cleaner. His finishes are much, much better. He can only get better. So it's good to see him doing that against that level of opponent, which is not the highest tier of opponent, but it's still a good level of opponent. And then, of course, we also had from the Bay Area, the young fighter. He's from the Bay Area. I forgot what his name is, but you guys know who I'm talking about. He stopped his opponent within 6 rounds. It's not Jay fighter. We was in the camp of Andre Ward and Andre Ward's camp anyway. He was there. Forgot his name for some reason. I can't remember. He was a young white fighter, really good, slick, skilled boxer, and he got rid of his opponent also over the weekend. Was kudos to him on that as well. Now, what I want to say about these fights that I've seen over the weekend is I really like the fact that in boxing you have to be at a certain level or on your game. You can't afford to slack off. You can't afford to sleep in the game. Otherwise, if you sleep in the game, you're gonna get axed. Okay? At the highest level, there's not much difference, and everybody's improving at the highest level. So if you go and you slip up and you slack off, you're gonna get axed. Paul Spatafore's trainer, who was Tom um, Yankello, he was talking about the different kinds of jabs that you can use, different situations, and the purpose of the jab to open up certain defensive holes in your opponent's defense. And in speaking about that, because remember, Tommy Yankello, he's actually the trainer of Paul Spatafora, the original trainer of him. In dealing with that particular aspect of the game, Tom Yankello was talking about all the different steps and stages that are necessary for that, whether it's southpaw to southpaw, whether it's southpaw to orthodox, whether it's orthodox to orthodox, whether it's orthodox to southpaw. And his approach, and this is why I tell you, a lot of people say, oh, boxing's not that complex. It's not complex to learn to do these things, but you got to repeat them as well, right? But in doing the orthodox to southpaw stuff, he's talking about how you open up that angle. And the angle you even have to be at when you throw your jab. Now, these kinds of little things that have to do with boxing is what I try to talk to you guys about. And you saw my last video, I had 2 videos on Floyd Mayweather, and I wanted to show people the subtleties of boxing. Well, at least what we call subtleties. They're not subtleties, but about the sport of boxing. And what I try to explain to people is that certain fighters are not really categorized by any particular style. They may have signature punches, but some boxers, and this is why you need to have a wide repertoire of skills, okay? But the skills must be honed skills. See, because what happened to Dillian Whyte would never happen to a fighter who is defensively responsible at all times. So Dillian Whyte made the absolute mistake of going with the feint that Povetkin did. By going with the feint, Povetkin dipping to his left, it looked like he was going to throw a hook. So what Dillian did was he opened up the center line to brace for the hook. And what happened as a result of that is that Dillian Whyte, by opening up the center, Povetkin's able to feint him and come straight up the center. Beautiful stuff. Now, the problem with that is, if you are defensively responsible, that is to say, if you're going to fight on the inside, then you fight on the inside. If you're going to fight on the outside, you're going to fight on the outside. But if you are in no man's land, meaning you are at mid-range, and you know that your opponent does well at mid-range, why would you give yourself the opportunity to get countered? Defensive responsibility there are many different things that are involved there. And one of the principal things of defensive responsibility is controlling range at all times. The other thing is, when you are defensively responsible, you will not allow your opponent to mount offense unless it's an offense that you yourself can control and can work to your advantage to counter. I'll give you an example of this. Sergey Sokolov says, I can't believe that Povetkin did this. That's what Povetkin does. He's that kind of fighter. So I'll give you an example of this. Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather are 2 of all eras' greatest examples of controlling your opponent's offense. So there are many different approaches to fighting, but in fighting, if you can control what your opponent's going to do next, right? Because it's control we're talking about here. If you can control what your opponent's going to do next, you'll look like you're Houdini. But it's really you that set in motion, you not anticipating now, but you can literally, like Nostradamus, predict what your opponent's going to do next, because one, you restricted them from producing a certain kind of offense by both defensively and actively offensively limiting it, and two, by setting a bait so that you can make them do certain things and then counter them. So let's get into those two basic things in boxing. The first one is when you control range. Okay? When you control the range at which this fight is going to take place, you limit your opponent to a particular range at which they can do something. The second thing you have to do, so that's a sort of a defensive but offensive maneuver at the same time for you, is you actively have to limit them from producing a certain kind of offense. I'll give you an example. So we all know that most people depend on the jab as their lead hand. Like I told you, Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones Jr. do not depend on a jab as their lead hand. They can probe with the right hand, okay? They can pick with the right hand. They can probe with the right hand, and they can use power shots with the right hand. And we've talked about how they handle southpaws. We've talked about how they also handle, oh no, actually I haven't talked to you guys. I put it in the community section. I didn't actually tell you guys about this. I think I told you guys about a little bit about it in a video. So what a lot of people don't understand is that in boxing, it is not necessarily the jab that may be the most important punch. That can easily be replaced by your right hand if you know how to use your right hand as a lead hand. Now, it's going to be slightly different in that your right hand is coordinate with your lead foot, which is always going to be, because you're an orthodox stance, it's always going to be your left foot. Okay, so if you're an orthodox fighter, your left foot is your lead foot, but now your right hand is going to become your lead hand. To do that, what they do, and it's a trick. So I'm telling you a lot of little tricks of the game, because you can actually probe. You can do everything with that you do with the jab with the lead hand, with with the right hand. So your left hand, let's say you're orthodox fighter, and you throw with your left hand, right? This is your probe. This is your range finder. This is your targeting zone. This is your blinder. Okay, everything that your jab can do, your right hand can do. Now, the difference is angles and body positioning. I'll give you a perfect example, but first, why this is important to understand that the lead hand can be your power hand is because, without changing your stance, is because a lot of people do not pay attention to that hand and what it's doing. Okay? Because a lot of people, the way how it's positioned and the way how a skilled boxer will throw it is what makes the difference between somebody expecting it and anticipating it. Because a lot of people believe it's the jab, it's the jab, it's the jab. And they'll tell you, use your jab, stick your jab. Meanwhile, these guys are sticking their right hand, and they're using their right hand, and they're parrying with their right hand and coming over the top, and they're slapping down your lead hand, your power hand. They're neutralizing your power hand with their lead hand, and then coming over the top with a hook off the jab. They neutralize your jab with the left hand, and then they jab you with the right hand. So while you think they need to slap down the jab and come over the top, say, for example, if you're a southpaw, they slap down the jab, come over the top, but what do they actually do? They slap, come over the top with the jab. They maybe pop you with the jab, but really they want to line it up to put down that lead hand. So the right hand being the lead. And that's a weird concept for a lot of people, okay? That the right hand is more active than the left hand. And then the left hand, you can use the left hand as a spare jab. You can set it up to set up the hook. So you got a right hand hook off the right hand. It's really a soft right hand. It's like a touch jab. Come with a hook. Okay? And so like there's all these little other kinds of combinations as a result of using your right hand as an orthodox fighter as your lead hand. And a lot of people don't think about it that way, but lead hand is the key. So now, if you can use both hands as jabbing hands, as Floyd did against Manny Pacquiao particularly, that's how he kept Manny Pacquiao at bay. It wasn't just using the jab. A lot of people didn't realize that. He was also using the right hand with the jab. Okay? And that right hand was like a jab. And then at other times, it was like a power hand. And then at the other times, his jab was his power hand, where he would hook off the jab. And you saw him hit Pacquiao with such a hard hook in round 8 that he turned Pacquiao around. Pacquiao actually spun around, because Pacquiao was also throwing his hook at the same time. But he spun him around. That's how powerful the left hand could be as well. Now, what a lot of people don't understand either is that there are power jabs, which are as hard as if you were to use your backhand as a power hand. And the cool thing about a jab is, because of how your body's positioned, the jab is closest, the jabbing hand is closest to your opponent. Okay? It's closest to your opponent, especially the southpaw. Now, angling your body is what makes the difference between your lead hand and the other hand. And it's a tricky little thing they do. All right? It's called virtual distance. So let me demonstrate it a little bit. Let's see. This is too high. I'll try and demonstrate it for you guys. So for example, here I am. I'm in the orthodox stance, right? Right? But I'm leaning in on you. I'm leaning in. So what do, I square up. So I'm here, and I square up a little bit. Now these two shoulders are about the same distance. When I turn over my punch, because I'll need to turn it over. What you're not realizing as I'm leaning in on you is two things. I'm not positioned where I really am, right? My head is almost over my foot, right? You can't see my feet, but that's okay. My head is almost over my foot. I'm leaning in on you. So I'm closer to you than I really am. My real positioning is here, all the way back here. So if you throw something at me, you're going to fall short. So I can afford to square up a bit, okay? I'm not going to stay completely squared up because I need some torque, okay? But I could throw my lead hand from right here and hit you. Boom, okay? Now imagine this. This is what I'm talking about with the angling. I'm leaning in on you, but guess what? My feet is in a totally different plane to what you think it is. I'm actually facing you and a little bit more. So when I throw my hand like a jab, but right? When I throw my hand as a jab, I'm actually throwing it off an angle that cuts the angle so I'm closer to you than I really would have been if I just squared up like this and came throwing here. Notice the difference. Now, you can't see my feet, but my feet are angled in such a manner that I can actually get all of this with my shoulders. All of that. So I can throw and get further towards you, okay, than if I was like this. But you can't see my feet. If you can see my feet, maybe you can see my hip right here. So even if I'm turned into you here, I'm not going to get all the way here because I'm going to hurt myself, right? So I actually open the blades. So if I were to shield off here, this is where I am. You see? This is where I am. But I'm actually angled into you a little bit more. I'm actually here. Okay? Now, normally I'd be this way, but I actually squared up myself a little bit so that I can get to you. So if you snap back or anything, I still get you. All right. So that trick with the lead hand is something that a lot of people don't know in boxing. Sugar Ray Leonard knew nothing about that. Bernard Hopkins knows something about that. Andre Ward knows something about that. Floyd knows something about that. Very few boxers know that little secret. That's a secret. That it's not about It's not about your jab. Your jab just happens to be your lead hand. But your other hand could be your lead hand as well. But it's just how you align your body to make it happen. Now, the other thing that's tricky, if you're going to throw the lead hand, you either do one or two things. For incoming, you have to block it. So you either block it with you either block, and as you're blocking, you snap back into your natural position. You can throw the lead hand and pivot as if you would do it with a jab. Or you can throw the lead hand and then you can roll under or roll out of the way. Roll out the way and pivot, right? So if I'm here, I'll throw the lead hand, I'll roll under, and I pivot to the side. Okay, that's one way. The other way is I throw the lead hand and then I catch it back here. I'll snap back and I catch. Okay? Or, like I said, you can throw the lead hand and then dip. Okay? So you can throw the lead hand, dip in, and clinch. It's up to you. If you want to, you can do it like a jab. So you throw the lead hand. If you want to, you pivot to the side. Just like how you would throw a jab and pivot to the side. Well, you throw the lead hand, pivot to the side. But do understand that this lead foot that you're going to pivot off of is going to actually pivot you in such a manner you can still be in the line of fire. So it's good to either roll under and pivot off. Or if you want to, you can throw the lead hand and then you can dip into the opponent, or throw the lead hand and snap back with your defense, because you have virtual distance, so you're actually further away from the opponent than he thinks you are. All right, so why I'm telling you that is because defensively responsible fighters like Floyd Mayweather, he don't get hit with stupid ass punches. He don't get hit with stray ass punches. Marcus McDonald was like his Delphine Persoon. So this is for Katie Taylor out there. Katie Taylor, you got to learn how to control a high volume, high rate opponent. There are two ways, but the most important one is using the lead hand. So your opponent might be expecting you to jab him, but instead of jabbing them, you go with the lead right to the body. All right? Then you touch him with the lead hand, the right hand. But again, it's how you get your body angled to touch him with the lead right hand and disrupt. The lead right hand can be used as a disruptor. Go and watch Floyd Mayweather versus Carlos Baldomir. How he cannot use his jab against Carlos Baldomir. It's so awkward that Carlos Baldomir gets like a barrel. He keeps on moving out the way of the jab and slipping it. So Floyd decided to start pot-shotting him with the lead hand. He started using the right as a lead, and he was catching him with that, and he was check hooking him and resetting. And Carlos Baldomir constantly had to reset because he did not see that kind of angle of a punch, first of all. And he didn't expect Floyd to hit him with the lead hand and disrupt him like that. In fact, Baldomir said, bring it. And he got popped with the right lead off the top of the dome. So Floyd couldn't use his jab to hit Carlos Baldomir, so he started hitting him with the right hand. It was like he was jabbing him with his right hand, and then he was pivoting out the way. So you can actually use the other hand. So like a fighter like Delphine Persoon, what you want to do is disrupt her, and you want to pivot out the way. You also need to have better defense. As much as Katie Taylor is a very good, busy offensive fighter, Katie Taylor has another problem. Her defense. Besides using the high guard, she has to figure out ways to start learning how to stay in the cubicle. You got to stay right in the pocket and be able to fight in the pocket. There are two things you need to understand. So for Katie Taylor, there are two things you need to learn. When you're doing your box steps, go back to the fundamentals, the box step. Right? You're doing your little box steps. All right. I want you to start moving your upper body as you're doing the box steps. So you're going to do laterally, back, forward, whatever. Right? I can't teach her the pyramid defense. That's something that Floyd kind of naturally did on his own. But the pyramid defense is one of the most unbreakable defenses out there. A lot of people don't understand what Floyd be doing with the pyramid defense. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. Shout out to Sergey Sokolov. Sergey Sokolov says, Floyd used a lot of that shit. Especially, I know now he done a work a lot with his cross arms. Yes, the Sean Bay Mitchell fight. He was using the lead right hand like a jab. Correct. And then he would vary the power. Correct. Uh, he just spamming with one punch time after time, and he still can't adapt. Yeah, that Sean Bay Mitchell was a perfect example of Floyd using the lead right hand because Sean Bay didn't understand what the fuck was going on. Sean Bay was like, yeah, even though Sean Bay knows that a fighter throws the lead right hand, look, the frequency at which Floyd was throwing the lead right hand was, he had never seen it before. And let me just say, um, yes, a lot of fighters now throw the lead right hand a lot. But back in times, people used to use their jabbing hand a lot to control a fighter. And now we know we clear it up for the right hand shot. But what a lot of people don't do, and even though Floyd and Roy are very capable of doing it, they don't do it enough, is throw the right hand lead, follow it up with a left hook. And that sounds weird, but it works, right? Now, how do you do that? Right hand lead, pivot, left hook. Right hand lead, pivot, left hook. Okay, you throw in a pivot in between the combination, and you left hook him. You'll get him flush. Whether it's the body, the chest, forget the head, body, chest. If the head is open, take it. But you're not really going for the left hook. You're trying to dig to the body. It's body shots you want or chest shots you want, solar plexus shots you want. All right, that's it. Almost is a perfect mask for the outside pivot, to pivot to the inside pivot to the opponent's jab. You're not going to be too far out because your lead foot is going to be in line with their lead foot. So you're going to pivot around, right? You blind with the right hand as you pivot around instead of swiveling back like Floyd like to swivel back sometimes. No, you swivel to the side and you rip the hook. You roll under everything, but you swivel to the side and you hit him with a hook. It's really crazy. It works. I'm going to show you. See, there's all kinds of tricks. Bernard Hopkins, he said, you ain't got to throw nothing hard. You just got to catch them when they're not expecting it. They don't expect a right hand to come like a jab. So as a result of that, the key to it is quickness, timing, and a solid punch. Nice, good snap. Because they're not going to brace for that. They're not expecting the right hand. So now that the secret's out, a lot of people are going to try it and a lot of people are going to brace for it. But so let me show you it again. So here I am. I'm leaning forward at you, right? I throw the right hand lead. I roll under to the side. I got body position. Boom. Straight up the center. Right? Roy Jones Jr. sometimes used to do that. In fact, if you watch it, Roy right now, as he's training, you know, Roy talked about how he learned certain things from watching animals fight cocks. Okay, it's interesting that a lot of people say Floyd is a chicken. Roy literally studied chickens, and in his study of chickens, Roy actually imitated them, gamecocks. And Roy also does like a flurry of punches that he learned from gamecocks. And when you look at Roy, he sometimes pull counter you, but as soon as he hits you with the right hand, he come back with the left hook. Then he get out of the way. Or if he comes with a jab, he follow it up with a right hand. So he always uses different sets of combinations. That's how he got Reggie Johnson, actually. He got him with I think it was he set it up right hand. Reggie Johnson tried to counter with his jab. He came over the top. He hooked over the jab, and then he caught him with the right hand after that. It was really fast. And that was it. Reggie Johnson was out. And Reggie Johnson, hell of a fighter. Gave James Toney run for his money. Some people thought he beat James Toney. Dropped him, all that. So, shout out to Pigeon Mike Tyson. In a boxing match, fear is good. In a street fight, fear is bad. From personal experience, both good for me. I don't know what to say this, but boxing and fighting are the same thing in a way. It's just restricted to, you know, you strike with your hands. You don't strike with your feet. Um, Striking is a bit overrated as well, as we know from Taekwondo and not Taekwondo, from Jiu-Jitsu and so on. But I want to get back to what I was saying. The point is that you want to be calculated in there. You see, guys like Floyd and Andre Ward, they're not just fighting off of intuition. Every time you fight, you don't have time to process everything that you're doing. You just know this is what I need to do, and you do it. But you can explain it after. So I don't mean that kind of intuition. I mean in the sense that they know, because they've done it so many times, they know exactly what they're doing in that ring when they're performing what they're doing. So these kinds of boxers, they're not just intuitive boxers. Pernell Whitaker knows what he's doing in that ring when he's doing what he's doing. Like he knows what he's doing. Okay? And so what I just told you about the lead right hand takes away your opponents. If they're southpaw, it takes away the lead left. They can't use their lead left. Especially when you're frequently, though irregularly, landing the lead right hand, it keeps their left hand home. Even when they try to counter you with the lead left and then they get countered with a left hook or something because you're in a different angle to them, even if they turn with you, that is the key. Now, here's another way to restrict your opponent. So I'm telling you all little secrets of the trade I saw. I'm now starting to speak it. I'm going to speak out more technically on a lot of things. Because this game is a lot more going on in this game that meets the eye. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Floyd seems to always be in the right place at the right time. His body movements like he don't even think. He never reckless in my view. Okay, he looks very natural when he does what he does. He's very economical. Remind me a little bit of Joe Louis, except that he moved a little bit more than Joe. Sergey Sokovalov says it's more like front stance. See it, old recording USSR. Enemy just can't understand what to expect. You work equally with both hands. Every punch can be a cross or a jab. Also see Roy Jones Jr. in that. Yes. So you confuse your opponent, right? Exactly. It's a kind of like a cross stance, correct? Because your feet are in a different plane to your hands, and you're also leaning forward. You're leaning forward, so it's virtual distance. So you're not in the space where people think you are. You really are. You're about, let's say you're about 5 feet away from your opponent, but it looks like you're 2 feet to 3 feet away from them because you're leaning forward. 1, 2, you're squared up your upper torso, but really you have to look at your lower torso to see where you really are in space. This is what we call special effects. This is the tricks of the trade. I'm revealing it now because, see, boxers like Floyd and Andre Ward and Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones Jr., they use tricks. They're not where you think they are in space. That's why a lot of opponents can't find them. And on top of that, they're baiting you all the time. Called setting traps. They're baiting you all the time. And there's several different ways to bait an opponent. And by baiting somebody, what do? You're able to know exactly what they're going to do next because they're going to respond to your bait. But if they don't take the bait, it's not a problem because you're defensively sound and you did all the defensive precautions that when you set the trap and they didn't go for it, you just go on to another trap. Right? Just like a fish on a hook line. Okay, they didn't take the bait. I'm going to roll up my bait. I'll put on new bait. See, they're going to resist that one. And that's how it goes. Roberto Duran was a master at bait setting. Not only in the ring, but he bait trap you mentally. He gets you to fight his game mentally before the fight even started. That's what he did with Sugar Ray Leonard. Roberto Duran was a master of bait and counter. That was his thing. Okay? Because he got to get you to fight his fight. He don't want to fight your fight now. You know what I'm saying? He can't handle your fight. He couldn't handle movers. guys who knew where they were in the ring. So he had to get them to fight on his terms. Roberto Duran. All right. So I'm just giving you the tricks of the trade. I'm giving you what these guys were good at. Bernard Hopkins baiting was a thing of beauty. He baited De La Hoya and Trinidad. Younger Bernard would have beaten Calzaghe. Calzaghe is also a thinking fighter. So I'm going to tell you the secrets of Joe Calzaghe too. He occupied. Joe Calzaghe was a guy that occupied you in misdirection. He was the master of misdirection. And because he did everything so fast, he reminded me of Lomachenko to some degree. Because he did everything so fast, and he feints you one way, and he sets you up, and then you respond to his feint, and then you open up another place. And it's not that he was going super fast. Calzaghe was continuous motion. He wasn't super fast, but he was a fast thinker. He was a very sharp mind, and he would set you up for traps. His trap set was offensive trap set. Very interesting, because he gets you defensively doing one thing, and then he come at you offensively with something else. That's Calzaghe. That's Lomachenko as well. Okay? And he was smart defensively. He picked up things pretty quickly. So Joe Calzaghe, listen, man, when you start studying fighters, that's when we're really talking boxing. This is the most exciting part of boxing, in my opinion. It's studying fighters and understanding what they were doing in that squared circle. So you understand the brilliance of why they were undefeated, why they were, so hard to beat, whether they were undefeated or not. Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard was a strategist. But like he told you everything about himself. He planned out fights in his head. But he also was systematic in the way how he played mind games with people. So he learned a thing or two from Roberto Duran. And from there now, he took that brilliance and he flipped the script. He used it back on Duran. He then used it on Hagler. He used it on several other fighters. But the one thing about Sugar Leonard was he used finesse. What I mean by that is he would come straight up to you and be confrontational. Oh, hell no. That's not Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard was mild-mannered and all sun and sunshine, but he's playing psychological games with you while he's all in the sunshine and all of that shit. Okay? That was Sugar Ray Leonard outside the ring. As soon as he got in that ring, it was all business. It was all about trying to get his combinations off to finish your ass. He didn't want you standing in that ring, okay? He would love to finish you. His goal was to be as spectacular and as entertaining as possible. Whatever it took to finish you. And if he could finish you mentally, he'd do it. Like he did to Duran. If he could, and he did it to Duran and Marvin Hagler. Okay? He fucked up Marvin Hagler's head so much. Marvin Hagler was so fucked up after that fight that this pansy, this guy who was just touching me with his shots, okay? And yet this motherfucker, I can't knock his ass out. I'm not dominating him. He keep on landing punches on me. I throw my best combinations at his body and this motherfucker's still standing. Oh shit, yeah. Hagler was done. He already wanted to retire. He told Bob Arum he wanted to retire. He was done. He was like, fuck this. Fuck this. And, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard mentally beat Marvin Hagler. He mentally beat him. Marvin Hagler didn't want nothing to do with boxing after that. And he knew he lost. Marvin Hagler knows he lost. Okay? And Leonard beat him. Mental. So Leonard was the guy that was very strategic. Very, very strategic. But he planned out his fights. What I mean by that is he literally started building a game plan of his fights. Like, he had a trainer, he had a coach. He had two trainers, actually. Two coaches. And the black coach was the real coach. Angelo Dundee was the other coach. The white dude that got in prominence. But Sugar Ray Leonard was a tactician. And have we seen a fighter quite like that ever in boxing? Joe Gans, way back in the day, was a tactician, but it's very rare that you saw that. Sugar Ray Robinson was a brilliant fighter, but was never really considered like Sugar Ray Leonard, cerebral tactician, even though Sugar Ray Robinson broke down fighters and stuff, and he was excellent at what he did, Leonard formed his own fucking game plan. Leonard came in with a game plan. He had his game plan in his head, and he would go into fights with a game plan. Okay, so Leonard was pretty incredible. I think though he worked along with his trainer, the black trainer, and they formulated their game plan. He watched footage on fighters and that kind of shit. So Leonard was a special fighter. He used a bit of his natural intuitive. He was an intuitive fighter. His intuitive fighting skills to solve the puzzle that was in front of him. And he didn't have a problem. And that's why a lot of people loved Sugar Ray Leonard, engaging an opponent and fighting them, literally fighting them and taking shots and fighting them. Okay. But he was smart enough to understand that he needed to keep his defense tight enough so that he wasn't getting hit with too many hard shots. But of course, he damaged his retina versus Thomas Hearns, destroyed his retina. And in the second fight, Thomas Hearns beat him. But Sugar Ray Leonard was an incredibly deliberate strategist. I would think he was a master strategist because Sugar Ray Leonard considered the mental aspect of a fighter, and he also considered their skill set and their weaknesses and their strengths. And Leonard approached the game in a different way to everybody else before him. He literally started to plan how he was going to deal with situations in his head. And he was doing his prep, but he was that kind of fighter. So this is where I saw he was cerebral in that respect, but he was intuitive, because if things were not going according to his plan, he would resort to fall back on his intuitive fighting store and started to pull out of his tool bag different things and see what was working. And he would listen to his trainers in the corner. I remember with Thomas Hearns, the corner was screaming out to Leonard after Leonard hit Hearns with the liver shot. The body, go to the body. And they were screaming that shit out, and Leonard started ripping him to the body. And when Hearns started dropping his hands, Leonard started throwing bombs up top. I will never forget that. That first Thomas Hearns versus Sugar Ray Leonard fight, when the fight turned because Leonard hit him with a liver shot. And Hearns went, and that was it. But Sugar Ray Leonard is a guy who had an indomitable spirit. His will to win was pretty crazy. He was a little bit weak-minded in the beginning because he had never faced anybody like Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran educated him on the mental aspects of boxing. Roberto Duran was really good at that. So when we talk about Sugar Ray Leonard, you have to understand Sugar Ray Leonard was like the forerunner of a Floyd Mayweather. It was forerunner of Oscar De La Hoya, forerunner of Pernell Whitaker, forerunner of Roy Jones Jr. Sugar Ray Leonard brought light on the lower weight classes. He was the guy that started bringing back light to the lower weight classes since Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, yes, we had great fighters like Emil Griffith. We had great fighters like Jose Napoles. A lot of great fighters in Carlos Monzon in the middleweight division and so on. But they weren't shining as bright as when Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, and the reason why everybody talks about that period of time, the Leonard, the Hagler, the Hearns, the Durans, the Benitez, right, is because of Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard is that bonding key. He beat all of them. And so as a result of that, Sugar Ray Leonard really brought the excitement to that time. So when you talk about Sugar Ray Leonard, you got to pause and put there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of Sugar Ray Leonard's name carries a lot of weight. The word I'm looking for is cachet. There's a lot of cachet in Sugar Ray Leonard's name to this day. He's 60-something years old. Those fights happened 40-something years ago, and still got their cachet. Sugar Ray Leonard made the 80s what they were. Then Mike Tyson took over, and then we had smaller guys like Julio Cesar Chavez, Pernell Whitaker, and Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley, and then Roy took over. It was a slightly bigger guy, went all the way up to heavyweight, right? And Roy fell, And when Roy fell, Bernard got it for a little stint, and then Floyd took it. And then it was Pacquiao, and then it was Floyd. And now, today, it's fluctuating a little bit. We had Roman Gonzalez, then we had Andre Ward, and then we had Triple G, and then we had now we have a kind of toss up. We had Canelo for a minute, and then now we're talking about either Crawford, Lomachenko, or Crawford, or Canelo, right? So, it's a very exciting time. Who's going to carry the torch for the next decade or whatever? We don't know yet. But Tyson Fury's even up in that mix, right? But just to break it down so you guys will understand. So what guys like Floyd and guys like Andrew Ward brought to the table, but more so Floyd, and Pernell Whitaker used to do something like this too, is they would actively disarm the offense of an opponent. And there are different ways of doing it. One of them is to hit the opponent with punches that they didn't expect or anticipate, and so it reduces their offense. Because you can't throw while you're getting hit, right? You could, but it's not the best thing in the world, right? The other thing they took away from them would be their radar. Because most people, their lead hand is their jabbing hand. That jabbing hand they have to depend on. It's almost they get blind. If they can't throw a jab, they have no targeting. They have no targeter. They don't have any rangefinder. They don't have any defensive mechanism to keep an opponent a certain distance away from them. So that is the next key thing. I'm going to tell you all another little thing, because you have to understand what establishing range is and what range is and all of these things. So your jabbing hand is used, even if you're an inside fighter, is used to jab your way to the inside. Because once you're jabbing, let's say, okay, I'm doing an orthodox jab. I jab, right? When I jab this way, I actually protect my chin, right, with my jabbing hand. So even if you hook over, you might catch me on the top of my dome, unless I do like this, and I'm jabbing that way. You catch me on the top of my dome, but you never catch me on my chin. So a fighter going to the inside will jab his way to the inside. Now, you could jab your way to the inside. You could also bait and counter your way to the inside. You could feint and then get your way to the inside. And if you're a good slip and slider, you could slip a punch and then slide your way to the inside. So there are several different ways to get to the inside. You could roll into the inside. There's many different ways, okay? Now, but the point is, if you take away your opponent's jab, and this is what Floyd is very good at. Floyd, Pacquiao, Canelo are very good at disarming your jab. They take it away from you. Or what they do is they make you throw your jab more than you want to. And then the more regularly you throw your jab is the better they can time you. And once they can time you, then they can easily manipulate you and your jab to their ends. So there are several little ways to disarm or neutralize a jab, even if a guy's still jabbing with it. So one of the things to do with a guy who likes to jab a lot, or is even successful at jabbing, to take away his jab without hitting him, is you use your lead hand to keep his jabbing hand at home. So you've seen this with George Foreman and Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes and Ken Norton. They all use their jabbing hand. You see that jabbing hand come out like this, and they pawing with the jab, and they're almost dueling with each other like this. But it's really to slap down the hand so they can come over the top with the jab. Or just to keep the jabbing hand home and blind you at the same time. If I'm pawing at your jab like this and I blind you right here, like I blind the camera right here, then I could come over there, I could come behind that with a bat, right? I come right behind that with a boom, right? Straight in your face, right? So controlling the jab. And there's several ways to do that. But to do that, you need to freeze up your opponent first. You got to get him still. You see? Okay, so you can use touch jabs to keep the jab at home, which is just reaching out and touching their jabbing hand, just touching it to keep it home, so the jabbing hand is not going anywhere. Same thing with the lead hand. You can take your power hand, which in this case would be the orthodox hand. You square up a bit, and you're touching their power hand, right? Or you're touching their jabbing hand. Let me see if I'm orthodox here. Yeah, that I'm orthodox here. My opponent is not a southpaw. He's an orthodox fighter. The jabbing hand is here. All right. I can touch with the lead hand and keep that jabbing hand at home. Okay, we've seen that also with, again, the throwback boxers, the Foremans, the etc. They do it with both hands. So, because they're squared up. But I don't suggest you square up and don't keep both hands away from you, because then they could hook over your extended hands. But the point is, by strategically doing that, you keep the hands at home of your opponent. And then you get to score and they don't get to fire off their stuff. All right? Now, I will show you two more things. See, because range is everything. If you want to get to the inside of your opponent, now, what is going to be your lead hand? Because in infighting, there is actually a lead hand in infighting as well. So in infighting now, whether it is you're down low this way, you're going to angle your body a certain way, or you're up against your opponent with your shoulder. If this shoulder is the lead hand, this is the extension of the lead hand, which is the jabbing hand. And you can head control guys, and by head controlling them this way, for example, or let's say he's an orthodox fighter. So this is the opponent right here. This is their jabbing hand, right? This is the opponent right here. This is the jabbing hand right here. This is them over here, okay? This is their head. So if I head control you this way, there's no way your power hand can hit me. It's rested right here. Now he's on the outside of my jab. He can't do shit when it comes to his power hand. All I got to do is body up to him close enough and protect my body here. And guess what? His jabbing hand can't do shit either. So that's how you neutralize them. And yet you have a free hand. Well, sometimes you clench up in the clinch and the guy's got one of your hands and the other hand's free, and you can dig him a little bit with a free hand. It's gonna be more a home punch, but you can dig him with a free hand. So it's these kinds of little things that I want you people to understand, that you can. That's why Floyd fall in and he head controlled one time. You see that forearm coming into play. He's not elbowing anybody. People talk about how he elbow people with shots. He doesn't. Floyd don't do that. He don't do that, but he does control you with his forearm. He will head control you. Okay. So that's head controlling, and then collapse forearm again can be used to body check a guy. So instead of putting it up on the neck area, you can brace it down low, so you can pivot off of it, and you can in a clinch, or guys trying to lock up on you, or they just bounce up, you can use the forearm down here and control your opponent here. So you get enough space to do whatever it is you want to do. Right? You want to come underneath there and dig up there, or you feint right, and you come with the uppercut. Hit 2 uppercuts, 3 uppercuts, right hook, whatever. So it's beautiful, and you can body check a guy, and you can pivot around him, or you can freeze him. You can lock him up, whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of boxing. And see, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about, how beautiful boxing really is. And there's several different things you could do in boxing. All right. So guys like Floyd would never get caught with an uppercut, a feinted left to the body or left to the head that comes straight up the center and bisects the high guard to get an uppercut and get knocked out like Dillian Whyte did. It would never happen. Because one, Povetkin's not going to be allowed to do that. We will check him to make sure that he's not even throwing those shots, because Floyd would have done ready to throw shots to nullify that. He wouldn't have been throwing nothing. He had kept everything at home, right? He'd have been a punching bag. You know what I'm saying? So that is why I said, Floyd's hit and not get hit ratio, the plus minus ratio, is a certain way for a certain reason. You look at all the great fighters, Joe Louis, who's a high plus minus ratio like Floyd, you will realize Joe Louis do some of those things that Floyd do. Okay. That is why Floyd, they say he's a defensive genius. It's not just defense. I just told you active offense that nullifies defense. Didn't I just tell you that? So there's so many different things to this game that I can't really tell you all of them. But if you learn them in piece by piece by piece, you get to understand the game pretty easily. But the point behind it is that how you control an opponent and then get them to do what you want them to do. Because everybody say Floyd always in the perfect place at the perfect time. It's not that. He's baiting the guy. He's baiting the guy. The guy's following him around. He doesn't even realize he's following him around. Guy think he cutting off the ring. No, he's baiting you into the corner. And it's a game. That's why Floyd loves guys who are aggressive fighters and they want to come get him. Fine. It makes his job easier. Because when they come to get him, he'll make them miss and he'll make them pay, which is the sweet science. He's counterpunching. That's what he's doing. But if he has to go get him, not a problem either. Because the principle also works. If you're going to get somebody, you still have to neutralize their offense. And he has all kinds of tools. I told you about the lead right hand. I told you about how you can control the jab and nullify it by touch jabs and other things like that. So he can actually use those little tricks of the trade, freeze a guy by changing levels on him, and he just freeze him up for a split second, control the lead hand, and then pop him with whatever you want to pop him, whether it's southpaw or orthodox. Pivot out the way and repeat it again. So I'm just saying that, you know, there's a lot of tools in the tool bag, and it's not so much about what style you actually bring to the table. You may have signature moves, but it's not what style you bring to the table. It's what's necessary to win the fight. So I'll give you an example. That's why I said you must be able to fight in all terrains. If your opponent is an opponent that you cannot keep off of you, you have to infight that opponent. Then you should know how to infight to start with. In infighting, you got to be slick and skilled with it. A lot of people think that it's about throwing volume and activity, but you catch a guy in between his punches and his combination like Floyd does, you're going to naturally lower his punch output because he's constantly getting caught with stuff. He's going to think twice about throwing combinations. It's just what it is. It doesn't matter. It can be as machine-like as they want. It's going to slow them down because you're catching them in between the punches. Timing. But how is that timing possible? Unless you're setting traps to make your opponent do that. If you know he throws the 5, 6, 8 punch combinations, you know this is what kind of opponent that it is. Then the thing you're going to do is you're going to now set your feet so that opponent will pursue. You're setting your feet at a particular distance. You're maintaining a particular distance. So when your opponent comes in on you, you either slide in on them, which makes them smother themselves, or you're going to stand your ground and let them come to you, watching everything, shelling up, and then looking for opportunities to counter them. See, these are the little tricks of the trade. You know, when your opponent's coming at you hard and you reach the ropes, you got to stand your ground. You're really where you are, but again, the ropes help you in that you can move further back by leaning into them than you normally could do if there was no ropes behind you. So the trick to using the ropes is that guys like Floyd particularly use the ropes to get further back than he needs to, than he would normally do. He uses the literal elasticity of the ropes as a rebound or like a boomerang effect. And as he's coming back, he'd either roll under the punch and then counter you, or he might just come back with a counter. But he'll dip, change levels, and then he comes at you. So these are some of the little tricks of the trade in boxing. And there's so many different ones that I can't really talk about all of them. But the point is, you see Timothy Bradley do something like that. A lot of black, slick, skilled boxers know how to use the ropes. But some of them are not really, they don't cut the right angles to make sure that their defense is impervious to the opponent. They practice it only one way, don't know how to make the adjustments. That's why a lot of them get clocked. And once you get clocked once, you can make the adjustment just to make sure you got the right angle. And perfectionists, guys that do it over and over and over again, always working on the weak points of their game. This is what relentlessly Floyd did, relentlessly Andrew Ward did to perfect their game. These guys don't get hit at all. All right. So Dillian Whyte, he got knocked out by Povetkin. He's a good boxer, solid all-around boxer, like I said, borderline elite. And this was a learning experience for him. He needed to keep his defense tight, or he needed to control the range. And he needed to control what Povetkin was doing there, so that Povetkin can come off the tip and get lucky, because there's no luck in boxing. You know what I'm saying? You don't allow people to be lucky. Guys who've been champion for 10, 12, 15 years. And don't tell me because you were heavyweight, that means you can get knocked out. Oh, hell no. Hell to the no, no, no. No, 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 no. You can't afford to make those mistakes. So hopefully it's a learning lesson for Dillian Whyte. I heard him saying that he said that he don't got to do much more in training. He just need to approach Povetkin the same way and just keep your defense tight. I'm gonna tell him this: you better fucking keep working. You better improve other things in your game, because you got a lot to improve, Dillian Whyte. You better improve your game, okay? Because that guy was never supposed to. That guy was done. He was never supposed to catch you. Never. Right? So you have a lot to work on your game. There's always something you can do to improve. And you better get your ass in camp to improve. Otherwise, he's gonna get you again. He's not gonna just go down just like that. Right? You dropped him twice and he dropped you once, and that was it. He gonna get you again. He got all the little tricks up his sleeve. So you better perfect your game and get better. You better work on your game. Cause he gonna have something else up his sleeve. So that's all I gotta say for now, based on the fights and so on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What people need to understand in this boxing game is, it's a game you got to constantly be update. You got to be up to speed, because everybody's working. And to outwork everybody in this game, means you got to continuously be improving yourself. Every aspect of your game. And you got to work 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as hard as other guys. Dillian Whyte should be working on his footwork, his angles, his pivot work, his pacing. He should be working on his defense. He should be working on his offense. I mean, you got to work on everything, and you got to constantly be working on everything. But a lot of these guys, they don't got that kind of professional regimen. You say, "Oh, I'm a heavyweight, so that means I should." No. You got to keep working on your craft, and you got to work on it harder. Put some more pressure on yourself. Say, "Hey, man, that should never happen." And while it is boxing, it better be a learning experience so you don't get knocked out again. You're supposed to be a defensive fighter. And at times of change, there's so much technology, so many things at your disposal. A guy like Tyson Fury, he got dropped and stuff already. But a guy like Tyson Fury, I'm expecting him to improve even more. And I hope that he faces tougher competition. Because what I love about Dillian Whyte was he fought top 10 fighters straight through. Okay, you can't fault Dillian Whyte. He be fighting the tough competition. And Dillian Whyte, if you keep it up, brother, keep it up. You're gonna go down in the Boxing Hall of Fame if you don't get to become a world champion. The thing is, he at least saw flaws in his game so he can improve himself. Tyson Fury need to fight top tier competition and should be improving his game every single step of the way. He should have more wrinkles in his game. I don't care how all-rounded a boxer you are, you got to keep on working on your game. It's about working on your game all through your career. It's not like you ever know it. You always like everything, and you may have a good command now. That doesn't mean 2-3 years from now. Look at what happened to Victor Ortiz. Victor Ortiz was on fire and everything. All of a sudden, it's all gone. He lost to Floyd, and he lost to Josecito Lopez, and that was it. Okay, and the thing about it is, I'm not saying that all fighters are like that. Some fighters like Pacquiao can take the loss and bounce back. But not everybody can bounce back from that stuff, right? Ricky had never bounced back. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to, especially if you're new to the game, you don't have extensive amateur experience, you got to work 3-4 times harder than everybody else to get up to speed with everybody else. So that's what I got to say for now. I'm what you need. You've been watching my channel. Thank you so very much for those of you who tuned in and actually watched this video. Let me give you guys a couple tips. So if you guys are doing squats, I've sort of lapsed off, so I got fat. Let's just do 1 or 2 squats right here and now. All right. Shit. Okay. So guys, it's easy. Okay, it's easy to squat. I know that might sound. People don't like to hear people say it's easy. Things are easy. I understand that. Let me put this in there. Hold on a second. I just want to get it lower. There you go. Okay, so now you can see me, my lower portion of my body, which is the most important part. I'm going to show you the squat from the side. All right, this is me standing straight up. Okay. So I'm going to show you from the side first. Okay. What you want to do, put all your weight on your heels. Okay. Your feet should look like this, apart. Right? So your knees go out and wide like this. Okay? I ain't done no squats for today. So you go down. So I keep my hands like this to counterbalance. You go down like this. I'm doing it from the side first. All right? You breathe in going down. You breathe out going up. 4, 5. All right. This is it from the front. All right. Kick your butt out as far as it can go. All right. Rock back on your heels. I can rock back this way. See, I rock back that way because I'm on my heels. And these go out like that. You're going out. I'm doing a wide horse stance almost. Right. And they're going in like this. They're coming this way. All right. So I get fully on my heels. And down, dip, up. You want to get your butt lower than your knees. All right, that's 5. Okay, so that freaked me out a little bit. I also do lunges. So my lunge, again, in the front foot is on the heel. Back foot is off the toe. All right, nice little wide stance like this. And it's not a lunge, it's a dip. I'm gonna go down like this and back up. Keep your balance. 3, 4, 5. Now come back over here, do the same thing. All right, do it this way so you can see. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. All right. So I did both sides. And it's nice and freeing up. If you want, you could do a little sprint on the spot. Right. Do a little push-ups. Then you can do, if you got a doorway or a door or something, make sure it's strong enough. You put a towel on it, and you can do some pull-ups, your lower body pulling up. So you hold on to whatever up top, and you just lift in this section of the body, heightening your abs as you come up. And then exhale, I think no, exhale to come up, inhale to go down, right? That works your core. And after that, you can do a little bit of shadow boxing. Remember, I'm a southpaw, so jab, jab, right hand, left foot, right? So, hold on a second. So, you can do a box step, simple, basic stuff, all right? Just basic stuff. It don't have to be the greatest thing in the world. All right? Jab, relax yourself, jab. Right? Jab, jab, left hand, right hook, right? All right? Here we are. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. All right? I can't move my feet. I would love to move my feet, but I'm just gonna shift my weight from one foot to the next, right? So I go, boom, boom. All right. All right. There you go. Jab, jab, right hand, left hook. Right? All right. Jab, jab. Yep. All right. So you can work on it. Unfortunately for me, you can't see my feet. And then you practice doing the box step with that. And it's good burnout. It's a good burnout for your body. All right. I'm a southpaw. So I punch from a southpaw stance. Trying to, and you can throw in hooks to the body, right? It's good exercise. I'm telling you guys, it's good stuff. Let's throw a body punch in there. Keep your defense though. Watch where my hands are. They're up top here, right? Try to protect my chin. All right. So basics: jab, 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 jab. Let me do it slow. Jab, jab, right hand, left hook. That's for those of you who are orthodox fighters. Jab, jab. Nice and relaxed. You pivot off the right foot. All right. All right, here we go. All right. That's basically it. You know. Then what did I say? Oh yeah, we could go like this. All right. Okay. So it's a little bit of fun. If you want to, we could do it. We can count. So we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay, so got my blood flow. So we're gonna do jab, jab, left. Well, for me it's left. Jab. If you're orthodox, do it with me, man. We go jab, jab, right hand, right? Now when you do the right hand, make sure and turn your body, turn into the punch. Okay? Jab, 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 jab. Gotta turn into the punch now. So turn your hip. Right? 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 Jab, jab, right. There you go. Right? All right. Get a nice sweat going. That's a spare jab versus uppercut. All right. Okay. Yeah. It's good. Gives you good exercise. Simple as something. Nothing big. Keep it simple for now. I wanted you to do those things with a box step. So in the box step, I don't have enough space in here to do it. Let me see. Let's see something here. Right. Now you're only going to see the top of me. So. It's really good. It's a really great workout, but okay, you can't see. You can't see. Just gonna paint this way. Oh, it's too bad. But you're gonna go in a square, box step, right? You jab forward, jab to the side, jab to the side, jab back, jab back, jab to the side. Jab forward, right? You want to do it nice and crisp, right? Like that. Right? You guys couldn't see me. Let me try this one. All right, so right here, getting to a nice little stance right there. Jab, jab, right? Jab, 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 jab. All right, and that's it. Basic stuff. Then you can throw it in your right hand. Okay. Woohoo! Almost lost my stuff right there. Oh, it zoomed in now. Zoom that out. There you go. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, zoom. You know that. All right, people. That's basically it. Tangible Boxing says, Anson, I told you Alexander Povetkin is a serious threat in the fight. You didn't really say that. You said that what's his name? Whyte was going to tire, and that's when Alexander Povetkin is dangerous. You didn't actually say that. You said also that Povetkin was a guy, because Whyte didn't move a lot, that Povetkin could catch Whyte while he wasn't moving. But he actually wasn't moving at the time, and he used his defense, but we never thought Povetkin would catch him with that kind of shot. But White was dominating the fight like we expected, and Povetkin was his way out, and he caught White with a shot, which credit to him, credit to him on that. You didn't really say that. You were saying something different, but yeah, so we can do these little exercises, man. They're fun exercises to do. If you want to, also you can work on your squats. So you can go very, very low here in a squat. And now you can try the same thing. Right? So now you go. And so on, right? Then you can throw in a hook. And so on and so on. All right? So you can do it. You can do it sort of here. A relatively wide stance. Okay, here. Then you can do it here. All right? That way you can work on your squats as well. All right? And you don't have to do a whole lot of them. Just every day be consistent. Right? Every day be consistent. I'm already working up a sweat. And it's a good thing. Right? You gotta do nothing fancy. Keep it simple for now. Right? Don't do all of this. I see guys in groups doing all of this. I'm like, what the heck is that? That's too excessive, first of all. Just practice the simple things and get strong. So you stay down, nice and low right here. It's like in a squat stance, see? I'm like in a squat. Right? Try to squat a lot. Sit in a squat. Martial arts, we sit in a horse stance and stuff. So get nice and low. There you go. I can't. I'm just gonna do double jab, okay? 1, 2, nice and slow. 1, 2, nice and relaxed. Now, of course, I'm not directly in front of the camera, so my hand's gonna look like it's going all over the place, but it's really right there. All right? All right. Always bring your hand back, right? All right, so just having a little time with you guys there a bit. Oh, that was good. Simple though. And it burns energy because you're moving. People always feel boxing is just moving your hands. No, sir. It's also moving your feet. Hands, your feet, your waist, your head, everything's moving. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, I watched most of hold on, you guys. Saying a lot of things. I didn't know you guys was talking like that. Get the smoke. Wow. Okay. Let me catch up on you guys. All right. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Bernard Hopkins' bathing was a thing of beauty. The De La Hoya KO in Trinidad. Younger Bernard would have beaten Kiyosaki. I remember this. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, what's your views on Sugar Ray Leonard as a fighter? I talked about him. Are you talking about Sugar Ray Robinson? I wasn't sure what Sugar Ray you were talking about, by the way. Get the Smoke says, peace, everyone. What's happening? We got the Smoke. UK fans need Povetkin's B sample. Nah, it's not necessary. Sergio Kovla says, what you mean, young? He be on peak like in 35. Young. Who's talking about young? Oh, Hopkins. Okay. Pitcher Mike Tyson says Bernard was in his 40s versus Kiyosaki. I think I'm pretty sure about that. 41, 42? Yes, he was in his 40s. Pitcher Mike Tyson says, why did Duran go no mask on Sugar Ray fight? I never understood. He was not hurt. He couldn't hit Leonard and Leonard could hit him. So he quit because he realized that's just not his game. Duran don't go get you. He's not a go get you kind of guy like that. Especially if you got good footwork. Just K says, salute what you need. What's up? Hey, man, we need to have a little online boxing session with a lot of fans. We just need to get up there and just do a little something. You know what I'm saying? We're going to start with the basics. Apollo says, without my glasses on, you look like Mike Tyson. I hope not. Apollo says, Floyd would make you play into his game. That's his job. Yes. See? Yes. Yeah, this is true. Just K says, salute what you need. Salute, Just K. People in the building. It's good to see all you people. Now, let me recommend some channels for you guys to go check out, but just keep your basics. Just start with the basics. Just start throwing the jab off and stepping with the jab in place, simple things like that, and just do the simple box step. All right, we're not ready for the higher level things yet. Work on your stance, do a lot of squats, stretch your back out. Let me give you some back stretches to do. For those of you who might have some problems with your back muscles, your leg muscles. Simple little stretch. I'm going to show you what it is. I'm going to keep this basic. So you can see me, all right? What I want you to do is I want you to lean forward, bend over as much as you can. Take your hands and slide them down your feet, the back of your feet like this. See, from here all the way down, slide them down and go as far down as you can. You can pull your head into your body and hold for 30 seconds. Now slowly come back up. Slowly come back up this way. Slowly come back up. And get right up vertical. And you repeat 2 more times. Let's do it 2 more times. You guys are watching this video. Instead of just being a couch potato and watching me, get up and let's do some stuff. Boxing is a dueling sport. Let's start doing some boxing here. Come on, don't just commentate. So here we go. Gonna do it again. I'm gonna count to 30, okay, once we get down there. Slide down. If you can't go all the way down, don't go all the way down and hurt yourself, okay? Slide forward, nice and slow. If you stop at a certain point, don't push it. Don't always do more the next time. I'm going as far down as I can. Okay, I'm counting to 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Let me come back up. Nice and slow. Okay. You gave your back a stretch. Now, what you want to do? What you want to do on the next one? What you want to do on the next one is when you go down, try to stretch a little bit more than you did before, because your back's not going to feel a certain way, right? So let's do it again. You should feel something in your back. I'm going to do it one more time. You're going to stretch a little bit more, and then we stop. Okay? Not doing too much today, just a little something today. As we get into it, and we do more and more and more, these are simple exercises you can do every day. Okay? Don't be lazy and don't cheat yourself now. Here we go. We're going down again. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. I'm going to try and stretch a little bit more than we did the last time. All right. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Ease them up nice and slow. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Let me put this hat back on. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Oh, there you go. That must. That stretch that back out. All right. Woo. All right. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to stretch out a bit. Just K. You love that. All right, great. We're going to do something else. We're going to do something boxing related. Apollo, I did it with you, champ. Thanks. Nice, nice. One more thing we want to do, because you feel like your body's waking up. It won't feel as tired as it was feeling before. One more thing we're going to do, and we're going to call it a day. Simple exercise. Now, boxers use it for hooking. You're going to spread your legs like how I am on the ground. So you want to be about shoulders length, your feet apart, shoulders length, or a little bit further than shoulders length, maybe about a foot, you can't see it, but just wide. Keep a nice wide stance, because what we're going to do, this is for your hooking, okay? You want to sit into it a little bit. The way you want to go is you want to go this way, then you want to go this way. Or want to go this way, then you want to go this way, okay? This is for hooking, right? So you're going to keep your hands up like this, and you're going to go hook, 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 okay? So that's how you're going to hook. So this is the practice. Get some strength for hooking, okay? All right, so you ready? Now, when you're doing the hook, you're pushing off. Like if I'm going this direction, okay? I'm pushing off here. So I need a nice, powerful stance. The more you sit into it, the better, okay? The more you sit into it, the better. All right, if you want to do a little bounce, that's okay too. But this is for squatting. So you go. Okay, we're going to just do 5, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Just doing 5 of them. Now, what do you do? Now, if those of you who did not stretch out your back, don't do that exercise. You're going to hurt yourself. All right? I stretched out my back. I did some squats. Okay? Small little things. It's not tremendous stuff, but you do it every day. Okay? You do it every day. Don't cheat yourself. There's no need for rest days because you're not doing a lot of them. Just once every day. You pick the time. Okay? So those are little things you can do that just build a little bit of strength. Ain't nothing complicated. Everybody can do those things, because some of those some of those boxing routines are intense. You come out of the boxing routine and you're dripping wet for one, and for two, you're sore all over, right? So we don't want people who are sore, dripping wet. They don't know how to rehydrate themselves, because you should be rehydrating yourself all the time while this is going on. All right. So I'm gonna get some water to drink. Right, you're gonna rehydrate yourself. Take care of your body. Okay. And then, see, doing is harder than talking. Yeah, doing is harder than talking. So we could talk about boxing how much we want to. When we have to actually do it, it's a lot harder. Some of the things you see these expert elite boxers doing, none of us can do. None of us. And you begin to have respect for the sport. That's how I started having respect for the sport. When I realized how counterintuitive these things are to start with. And then second of all, it's just so, it's not, it's easy when you've done it step by step by step. When you know how to do it, when you're taught how to do it. But it's not easy. I don't care if you're a street fighter or not. It's not easy to do when you don't know how to do it. You've never been taught how to do it, and you haven't done it repeatedly. All right? And I'll give you an example. You guys try to do the lead right hand right now. Those Orthodox fighters out there who fight in the Orthodox stance. I want you to try and do this. So imagine you have an opponent right now in front of you. Okay? The pull counter is even harder. But imagine you have an opponent in front of you, right there. I'm a southpaw, so I'm going to do it from southpaw stance. All right? This is throwing a jab, right? Well, guess what? The lead right hand is like throwing a jab. But you got to do like this, turn your body this way, and then throw the lead right hand like you throw a jab. And that's it. You put a little torque into it, boom. That's the untelegraphed lead right hand, okay? So, if I'm here, right, instead of throwing this, right, I'm going to throw this, right? I'm pushing off my back leg, right? That's the untelegraphed lead right hand, okay? That's it. Of course, I'm not just going to throw it and stand here watching you. I'm going to do something like this, right? But the point is, that's the untelegraphed lead right hand. From the side, it looks different. But when I'm facing you, that's what it looks like. Okay? So once you get the basics down and you're strong in the basics, you can do all these things. Now, the superstar boxers, they look flashier. They look more stylish. But they're basic, simple little things. All right? All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section, and let me get out of here. Okay, that's it for you guys. It's been fun talking with you guys. Remember, stay healthy, stay active, get outside, enjoy the sunlight. If there's sunlight out there, if there's summer out there, enjoy the summer. Try not to do it amongst too many people. If it's people you know who don't have infections, great. If it's not people you know, then try to obey the social distancing to some degree so you don't get the virus. But if you do get the virus, try to stay active, try to stay healthy, keep your immune system up to par, and you should be okay. Remember the things I tell you guys you can use for your immune system are selenium, an immune booster. You can take the little Almond Hammer baking soda inside of your cupboard. Any kind of nut or grain is good, and a fruit, some kind of fruit for vitamins. Okay? If you can, you get greens and some sort of provision or something from the ground, like potatoes, or if you can get other things from the ground, get them, right? Because I'm not too sure what you guys call those things. So that's what I got for you guys right now. That's it for boxing. We spent an hour and 39 and 53 seconds now with you guys talking boxing. Hope you guys have a great day. I'm what you need. Peace.